So today I'm back finally playing some more Tropico 6, and today I wanted to really just wrap up the last series that I was working on, which is the Dystopia island. And so, lots of stuff has happened recently in this past week, which is really why I haven't been uploading too much, but let's get into the video. Alrighty, so here we are, and I've actually had the flu for like the whole past week, and I just haven't even really been able to record, either being just too sick or my voice just not really functioning. But today I figured I might as well give it a shot, see how well I feel, how well I can talk. And I feel a lot better today, so I ended up actually factory resetting my computer because it was just running so terribly this past couple weeks. And so I factory reset it, and I ended up actually deleting on accident some of my previous recordings. So I actually had like pretty much a whole episode nearly finished, and I tried to back up everything and reset my computer, and I accidentally lost all of that, and I ended up losing a bunch of stuff for some other videos as well, which is pretty upsetting. But I figured that I might as well go through and, well, I actually tried recording this right in the middle of being sick, and I just could not. I just did not like the video quality, the way I was sounding and stuff. And so, here we are. There's a bunch of stuff that I ended up doing. So I might as well just wrap up this video and sort of go over some stuff that I wanted to cover for the channel. And so, I ended up moving most of the industry onto this little area for all of the well-off and rich people to use. So as we can see, we have 2 shipyards. I could probably do with more, but we're using a lot of our planks on the furniture factories. And so if you've been keeping up with the series, then you've probably known that there was actually some furniture factories out here, and so we moved most of them to here. Actually, pretty much all of them. The cigar factory, which I actually had set up over here, was repeatedly getting attacked, so I moved it to this area as well. We built up this really nice looking plaza with like some of the more fancy looking buildings in the game, which are the pharmaceutical company and the fashion company. The vehicle factory, I think, has been here for a while. We finally built a nuclear power plant, and we're actually having trouble with that because no one would bring uranium to it, but seems like it's functioning rather quite well now. We built a total of 3 jewelry workshops. I threw down a weapons factory because we had plenty of steel and nothing we were using the nickel for. I moved over all the creameries, and we built up a handful more steel mills, and then I threw down a chocolate factory as well. And so there is all of that amongst textile mills. I think we have actually a second vehicle factory. And pretty much that's everything. I really didn't do any changes to this entire neighborhood, and if we check it out, like right now, there's actually like no spare housing. And so, I mean, that's fine. I could have built up more, but I was kind of winding down the series anyways. Like, I don't know what you would call this, it's called something specific. The financial district, with all of our offices and, you know, the really nice TV station, the customs office, one of the banks. I didn't really do too many changes to this area. I threw down parks finally, which I don't think was covered in the last episode that I uploaded. I just made it look, you know, as neat as possible. Then we have the Ministry of Information up here. I'm pretty sure I covered this recently, but if not, I put it here so that it's kind of next to our palace up here, looming over the population, keeping an eye on everyone. And then we have our very nice broadcast tower, which I think is a really neat touch for a dystopia island. And then in the back of the palace we have our like fancy rich people stuff, so like business up front, party in the back, but only for the rich people, you know. We were friends with China and Russia because I figured that dystopias go well with them. Realistically, it could have been anyone, but I just chose these two. And then we also have a courthouse, which really I only chose so that we could So that we could, I think we needed to like assassinate some foreign spies, and because we had the lighthearted trait with El Presidente, I couldn't unless we had a courthouse or something like that. I needed the courthouse to assassinate some foreign spies. The Ministry of Information, or the Ministry, the main thing is the Department of Education was set to the capitalist candidate. Only well-off, rich, and filthy rich Tropicans have access to education, and it increases the efficiency of education buildings. So that is a pretty dystopian thing. Like, we're separating out the classes, and only the upper classes can have their children educated, and then most of the jobs that require high school education, you know, like, it keeps the rich with the rich, and it kind of makes it to where even the poor can't ever make it, like, climb the ladder. They can't go get a nice job that gives them lots of money, and even if they wanted to, they can't even educate their children to do the same. So, pretty dystopian, that's why we did that. I built a number of fortresses around to defend against the constant rebel attacks. As we can see, this rebel guerrilla army here is going to eventually run into this fortress. I'll hit play and we'll watch that happen. And then we built up a stadium here alongside a hospital. I should have put this on the max budget a long time ago. We can do ambulance treatment, and then mess, and then that. And then actually keep it on this. Okay. So, all the rich people, only the rich people, well off and up, can actually use this hospital, and same thing with this stadium. So none of the poor people can come up here and use any of these faculties. And then we built a college up just to sort of help out with getting more educated people. And again, only well off, rich and filthy rich people can educate their children. And just some other tertiary buildings, newspapers, radio stations. We wanted to influence all of the well-off and rich people towards certain factions, and we wanted them to be communist, militarist, I think I was going industrialist, and then conservative. And so all of the media buildings on the rich island are set to work modes that accomplish this, right? Well, they were supposed to. Seems like I didn't get this newspaper. Gunny, Red Star, yeah, okay. So this one's not affecting anyone's homes, so that one doesn't matter too much. But as we can see, these two newspapers here, they're influencing everyone, all the well-off and rich people who only live in these houses. It's influencing them towards the communist faction and then the militarist faction. So any actions that we would take on the island, the well-off and rich class wouldn't have any like aversions towards it. And so then we made it to where only they could vote. And so by influencing their political ideologies, we could keep it to where we could like accomplish our end goal, and the people that can vote would agree with it. So that's why we were influencing them towards all of that. The radio stations, which need to affect their workplaces, are all set towards the tech talk work mode. This is pushing them all towards the industrialist faction, which is pretty neat. So as you can see, we're pretty much getting everyone up here in the well-off and rich zone. And then we have a TV station here, which is set to yesterday gold, pushing them towards the conservative faction. So pretty much all of the factions on the right here, which is neat. Reasons that we're going with the right ones, even though like these people here live in houses and they all make like plenty of money, is because most of the time we were building like buildings that the communists agreed with, which is stuff like conventillos and stuff. I don't know if they agree with conventillos, but I'm pretty sure they do. So there's all of that. That's pretty much everything with the rich island. And so really the only production that they were actually producing was oil from these oil wells, and then sugar from these hydroponic plantations. And then the rest of these islands each have a little zone for living. And so here's the first one, which is just throwing in as many conventillos as possible and surrounding a grocery with conventillos. And so then we were building up all sorts of production and some minor industry buildings like lumber mills, but they had plenty of logging camps anywhere that we could fit logging camps, and mines is what I was aiming for. So as you can see, we have plenty of mines all over the place. I even threw down a coconut harvester over here. Mines, mines, mines. Every deposit on the entire island, except for on the rich people's island, is pretty much being exploited. There's probably a handful that I didn't quite reach, but I went and did as much as possible. And so there's all of that. And of course, we had the Colosseum of Rome, and I actually ended up demolishing the Colosseum of Rome, and I changed the constitution so that everyone could vote. Previously, throughout the main chunk of the series, only the wealthy could vote. And we changed the personal rights to total surveillance, which, if it's mixed with a Ministry of Information, it allows you to know what every single person is, so we can see what they all are. We have like a bunch of criminals and stuff, and this is like pretty much the end of the series thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to see what the actual number of people who support me are, and so as we can see, it was only 31%, but through the main portion of the series, it was up there at like 80% all the time. That was only because only the well-off and rich could vote, and they only had to worry about their fun and food happiness. And so for food happiness, they could go to any grocery, but if the groceries were all full, then they always had the option to go to the shopping mall, which is here. And so there's that. And the reason we had it down here in the poor people zone is because it only gives a wage of 9. So all of these people here, most of them are making a poor wage, so they can't use this building. And I just think that's pretty dystopian. Like this shot here. As you can see, like, you can work in this building, but you can't use it. It's a really nice building, and you can only afford to live in the slums outside, which is a pretty dystopian thing to me. So there's that. And then, because of the Colosseum of Rome, we needed food happiness, shopping mall, and they needed fun happiness, which is the stadium. And they also had like a bunch of other things, like theaters and restaurants and stuff like that. But this gave a service quality of 111. And the shopping mall gave a service quality of 100, so the overall happiness of the class that could vote was pretty much near 100 most of the time. And then we influenced them towards factions that agreed with what we were doing, and that's why we always had a very high support. And so then I got rid of all of that to see what the entire island really thought, like everyone, and as you can see, we're only down to 31%, which is pretty insane. Like, we managed to pull it off. We created a dystopia that worked pretty well. Like everyone, like all these people out here are suffering for pretty much no reason. And we like created a class of rich people that agreed with like what we were doing, which is pretty insane. Like, pretty crazy way to do all of this. And so with dystopias comes the very scary idea of Big Brother, which, if you're not sure what Big Brother is, it's pretty much you're being spied on all the time. Sorry. If you've ever read George Orwell's 1948, then you'll know, like, they have TVs in their houses where pretty much you're being watched all the time. And the main story in the book, or the main character in the book, he has to, like, hide in his house to have any like alone time. Everyone's always snitching on each other and stuff, and you'll hear references to that in Tropico 6, like it'll say like hermano mejor, you know, and just stuff like that. And so we didn't want to build too many like spying buildings near their housing or their job sites, but one place I found out that they didn't care too much is during their fun happiness. When they were searching for fun happiness. And so we created these very intense little compounds, which are taverns, which I stacked every single bonus that I could possibly get. As we can see, the location, which isn't too great. I could build some more parks around this and get that up even higher. The edict modifiers, which comes from a number of things. Sorry. Edict modifiers, we have like, let's see real quick. We ended up doing National Day, which I think, yeah, National Day is what the edict modifiers all come from. Work modes, which is the all you can drink. Budget modifier, having the budget set to the max, of course. And then supply local market. So, like, the rich people are producing sugar, turning it into rum, and then distributing it amongst the population to keep them happy, which is a pretty insane idea once you, like, realize like the malintent of it all. And so these are pretty much like as high as possible, the service quality. So of course everyone's gonna come to these, right? Like all the poor people. And it's a pretty good service quality. Like 71 isn't bad. Well, these are only 68 because we don't have as many parks as we need, but I could easily build a couple more parks around this place. And if you check out the local beauty, as we can see, yeah, it's like 90 in the middle, and it kind of goes down to 80 around the edge. We could get that even higher up, but the main point is that we put an Overwatch tower in the center, which, as you can see, has plenty of these spy cameras all over the place. And so, whenever we had the Constitution set to security surveillance, the major thing about this was that we didn't have total surveillance. And so with total surveillance, that's like full on Big Brother. As long as you have the Ministry of Information, you know what everyone is. You know every rebel. You know every foreign spy. You know everything. And so that's a good way to know everything if you really wanted to. But it decreases the liberty, the global liberty, pretty harshly. And so I didn't want to have it too low, the liberty. So I went with security surveillance, and this was a pretty good way to compensate for that, which was to be spying on everyone during their visits to the tavern. And so this is one living zone, all of the production around, handful of lumber mills, and they have all sorts of Teamsters offices which don't give a well-off wage. So there's all of that. There's one industry which I didn't actually move, which is our juicery, because I thought this was a pretty good shot as well, which is the dystopian shot. And so again, we did more taverns built around, which had an Overwatch tower in the center, watching everyone equally. Rebels, spies, foreign spies, criminals, like anytime you're doing something bad, you were being spied on. And so there was a high chance we'd figure out, because we had the Ministry of Information, which increases the efficiency of these Overwatch towers. And so there's all of that. I guess I kind of forgot about this furniture factory, should have moved it, but that's okay. And I even built a steel mill over here, which isn't too great because all these people are rich and well off, which shouldn't be the case. I should have moved this steel mill over, as well as this factory furniture, and then got CAD software, which limits this building to only people who have a high school education. But I mean, this area is pretty fine, regardless. We put we put a newspaper and a radio station down to sort of give some liberty to this area, because the Overwatch towers were decreasing it pretty harshly. And so there's this entire area pretty much. This area doesn't really have too many mines. Instead, they have a lot of plantations and ranches all over the place. There's a couple more spots for ranches, and I kind of copy and pasted a bunch of ranches in a row, which I don't usually try to do, but in this area I ended up doing it. Up here I believe this is, yeah, the humongous pineapple place where we're stacking pineapple production. The upgrade pollination parcel increases efficiency on pineapple plantations, nearby pineapple plantations, by 3. And so each of these pineapple plantations is increasing other pineapple plantations' efficiency quite vigorously. We also produce some rubber out here for the car factories. And then there's a handful of mines up here, and I fit in just as many logging camps as we could fit, really. And so there is pretty much this entire island, just mostly production, with a living zone down here, with some dystopian mixes added in. This island's just some mines. This island here was one of the last few things that I did. And so as you can see, we have most of the buildings filled in, and this is more of the design that I was really aiming for, which is the 3 or 4 2x2s that have grass and then surrounding with concrete parks. And so this is giving a service quality of 73, which is pretty good. And the radio station was giving some additional bonuses, right? We have music all day, which increases the tavern's efficiencies by 5, the service quality by 5. On top of that, it gave some much needed liberty to this little island here. And then this island over here was just mines. This island is just like the previous one, which was, we were kind of doing this last, and so it's not as fleshed out as it could have been. We could have done more logging camps and maybe a couple of very simple industry buildings and built this place up a bit more, but we ended up settling with this, which is pretty good. They have a shopping mall, they have fun, and that's pretty much all like people wanted was food and fun. So that's why we focused on that. Again, radio station for the bonuses to the taverns, as well as some much needed liberty in this area as well. And then this brings us to our last island, which is this very large island here, which is much like the first of the poor islands. So there's 3 major zones for poor people to live in. We have this one, the first one, and the second one over here. And then there's like 2 smaller islands where poor people live. And the smallest of islands have just a couple of production buildings on them. And so this one here has the largest of these zones here for the taverns, and we're getting 72, 71, which are pretty good service qualities. I think this is the most populous zone, honestly. I might be mistaken, but we have plenty of conventillos here. They actually have their own bus stop station, just to help move people all around. There's like lots of people just walking, and it was really slowing down production, so I built them up a bus station area here, again giving a very low wage so that all these people are poor. And so up here we have some corn. I thought it'd be a good idea to get some corn production down so that we could start getting some factory ranches, but I never got around to it. And I'm pretty much fully finished with this island. I could continue doing some minor touches, but we pretty much got the main goals of the island completely finished. This is where we were producing the tobacco, and we previously had the cigar factory down here. But regardless, we're still producing it. And some sheep just to help out with the textile mill. And so mines. In between the mines, we put logging camps where we could. And in between all of that, we put down any sort of normal plantations. And so that was pretty much the entire island. And so I kind of goofed up the end of the series by getting sick and then trying to record it while I was sick and factory resetting my computer and deleting pretty much the end of the series. And so I kind of wanted to get the final episode out there just to go over everything that happened in the end. And so everything worked out really, really well. We had a very high support all the time. We won every election. And it was because only the rich people could vote. And all of their needs were taken care of. And we influenced them to agree with our malicious intentions. And so we didn't really care about the poor people. We did what we needed to. And then we spied on them as much as possible. And so very, very dystopian. They never had a chance to move up in the social class. They were stuck being poor. And the poor people could continue to educate their children and find good employment, making good money. And all in the meantime, El Presidente made a fortune. We have $1 million. It's only 1994, which is pretty good timing. Not like the greatest of timing, but plenty of money to go around for any further expansions that I could have planned for, but I figured this was pretty good. Like, everywhere had something. There was roads all over. I know for a fact that there's like uranium over here, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I knew there was uranium there. But gold, all of these deposits out here, every single one of them is being chewed up. I kind of put these plantations down before I realized there was coal there, which isn't the end of the world. We missed out on one. And then I built up this zone before doing the same. I should have built up the mines here and then built up maybe the like residential zones in this large flat area and then surrounded it with some ranches. I think that would look a lot nicer. But it ended up turning out pretty well, I'd say. And yeah, no real production and like transportation issues. Everyone gets to move around pretty freely. There's a number of metro stations on the rich island. And then they can take a metro station here, which has a bus stop leading to the shopping mall. So anywhere you are on the rich island, you can hop on a metro, show up here, get on the bus. If you're rich, you can just get in a car and drive anywhere. So pretty cool. It was really fun setting up this entire series. Really sucks that I ended up getting sick. I really wish I didn't, so I could definitely have gotten this series out and actually started working on another series. But that brings me to my plans for the future for this channel. I might give myself like another day or two to let my like sore throat. My throat's been so sore these past couple days I can't really talk. So I might give myself just a little bit more time before moving on to the next series. I definitely kind of really wanted to take a week-long break though. Like initially I was kind of just playing Rust and I was kind of just not uploading, and then I got sick, so like the first 2 days I wasn't uploading because I was just playing another game. But having a whole week off is pretty nice. Like every single day I've been playing this game, and really the goal with doing these series was so that I could have a number of series, like a number of islands. Like I'll show you here. Luckily these didn't get deleted when I factory reset my computer. They were all on my Steam cloud. But we have like a bunch of different islands here where these are pretty much all of the series. The first series that I did was the Crime City. And so I wanted a number of series to have so that I can make like more intricate and like fleshed out videos, way more edited with like some music and stuff. So I wanted a number of these, and so I'm going to start building up some really nice videos in the near future. And so I think the first one is going to be, what's it called? So I've made a beginner's guide like, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago or 5 months ago, something like that. And the beginner's guide video is like been doing really well. And so I always knew for like the past like 2 years ago, I knew that I could make a really good beginner's guide to this game. And so I made that, and then I wanted to make actual guides for each faction. I like specifically left out factions. I went over like a very basic way to set it up, which is pretty much what we've done here. Like the newspapers are affecting the newspapers affect the first 4 factions here. So as we can see in our island, we're pushing everyone towards communist and militarist, and so away from religious and the capitalist factions, right? So that's all newspapers, which is a pretty good way to do things. As we can see, Red Star is communism, Gunny is the militarist, and then for the second set of factions, environmentalist versus industrialist, I like using the radio stations for these. And so with these 4, you're trying to influence all of the housing with newspapers, right? So then these right here, you're trying to influence their workstations with radio stations. And so choosing one or the other, and as we can see with this island, what we've done is Tech Talk, which is industrialism, the industrialist faction. And then the final 2 factions I like doing with TVs, the TV stations, which have to be homes that are electrified, which is a really important thing. So I remember being like a little kid playing Tropico 4, and I would build the TV station and none of the houses were like highlighted, only a couple. And I'd be like, what? I wonder why. And then it was only once I actually made it to playing this game, Tropico 6, that I understood, like, oh, it's because the houses weren't electrified. But that's like a good way to set up very basic like influence of your Tropicans' ideologies. And so now I want to, this is what I'm going to be working on, is a video on each of these, like a capitalist island, like how to set up a capitalist island, and Tropico 6, how to set up a communist island, a religious island. And so there's lots of things that go into this, constitution topics, edicts, all sorts of different things, buildings, right? Every time you build a building, it influences, like, let's see if we built up any buildings lately. I don't think I have, really. Like, let's see who, like, agrees and disagrees with Conventillos. Let's just quick build this up. And so I want to make a guide covering all of these, every single faction. Oh, wow, are these poor people? No, they're rich. Wow. Either way, so we built up a Conventillo. Let's see who agrees with it. The communists agree with Conventillos. It gives them a +2 building, or +2 like bonus to their standing, right? The capitalists don't like them, And so, if you're building up a communist island, then you would want to build up conventillos all the time, amongst other buildings for that the communists agree with, right? And so then there's things that the capitalists like and don't like, and so I'm gonna make a guide on those, like covering all the different building guides, different ways to set up edicts, different ways for transportation, all sorts of different things, just covering everything. They probably won't be that long of videos, they'll probably be like 10-minute long videos, 20-minute long videos, but I want to cover each of the factions. And then there's also, what's it called? Just like certain build like styles, like a dystopia. So I want to make a video covering pretty much how to set this island up. So covering like what is a dystopia, like how you would set it up, how to make a utopia, like there's all sorts of different things. So that's gonna be, I'm gonna try and do like one of those every couple days, maybe like 2 a week. And so intermittently between those episodes, I'll be working on more daily videos. And pretty much that is my plan for the future of this channel for a bit, and then I'll be uploading some more just like extra videos every once in a while, playing something like Smoro Strive and just stuff like that. I still have Surviving Mars, which I have like a really good setup, but I just haven't got around to playing it too much lately. Really because I've been so sick. This is like the longest I've ever been sick, I think. But anyways, let's watch the rebels get taken down by our military. They're making everyone scatter, which isn't really good. This is the people fighting back against the dystopia. As you can see, the police, the soldiers up in the fortress, they're gonna get wiped here. They killed a police officer. Nice. But yep, that's pretty much the end of the series, the end of this episode. I really hope you guys enjoyed this series as much as I enjoyed putting it all together. If you did, be sure to leave a like, and if you want to follow along with all of the future stuff for the channel that I just got over talking about, then be sure to subscribe. Peace.